Welcome in to my technology podcast, first episode of 2022. We have another year behind us, and initially I wanted to just discuss what happened in 2021 and what's coming up in 2022, but we have some news stories that I actually want to discuss today, and then we will close off today's episode with the discussion for last year and what's coming up this year. So I hope you enjoy the episode, and if you want to follow along in regards to the articles that I will be referencing today, you can, if you are watching this on YouTube, Odyssey, or in podcast format, you should have the link to the show notes in the description. So if you're watching a video, it should be below. And the topics for today will be a revisit of the Apple self-service repair program. We discussed that 2 episodes ago, but I wasn't aware about a longer article by iFixit on that issue, and I will briefly talk about that, and I will recap the topic for you guys if you missed that episode. Then there was another announcement for a Steam Deck competitor at the end of the year, and we will look at some other competitors at that regard as well. Then the next topic, there was a Linux distribution release in the last 1 or 2 weeks in regards to a new shell, so a desktop environment that I found particularly interesting, which is called Maui Shell, and which is based on a KDE Foundation project called MauiKit. And then, of course, starting a new year without having a brief talk about what's coming up at CES would be amiss, so we will talk briefly about that. And we are going to close out the episode with my thoughts on 2021 and what's coming up in 2022. So for everyone watching, I am currently having some issues with my camera setup, so I fixed my green screen issue. So if you're watching this in video format, here my area has no hue anymore, but I have some issues in regards to the autofocus of my camera at the moment, because also the sensor is smudged a bit, and I have to clean all that, so bear with me with those issues today. But since you will see me most of the time, and just in the bottom right corner, that should not be, hopefully, too much of an issue. Of course, the autofocus is triggering a bit all the time, so you have a bit of movement here in the lower right of the image. I cannot do anything about that at the moment. I will fix this for next time, but I wasn't able to get that fixed before starting today's recording. So, let's start with our first topic, which in the last episode where we discussed the Apple self-service repair program, I had this article from Mac Rumors up. So Apple is going to allow you to repair your phones in 2022. So iPhone 12 and iPhone 13 will be self-serviceable, so you will be able to order parts and tools from Apple directly. And when I reported on this at the time, I did not know that there was an article from iFixit on that issue, which is this one. And what is basically confirmed by iFixit in this article is this very important sentence. So Apple is modeling their self-service repair program after their infamously restrictive independent repair provider program. And what is restrictive about that is that when you want to do a self-service repair, you order the parts and tools directly from Apple, and you will then be required to return those tools and the previously damaged parts that you extracted from your device. So you will only be able to use Apple provided parts, and you have to return those defective parts. So there is a much more effort involved in this program, and you can imagine if you're just a service repair shop, or if you want to just transfer parts from one phone to another because you have perhaps another defective phone which has a healthy part that you just want to use in another phone that does not have the defect that the other one has, so you can basically make two healthy phones out of two defective ones. That will be not possible under the terms of this particular self-service repair program, which in light of right repair is not what you actually want out of a program like this, because the intention should be to avoid devices landing on a landfill because perhaps their display is just broken, or they have a defective battery, and so on and so forth. These are all parts that are easily replaceable, and you definitely would be able to make healthy phones out of multiple defective ones, and therefore reduce all the devices that are landing on a landfill. Yeah, so that confirms the bad intonation that we already got when we discussed the self-service repair program in the initial episode. And yeah, let's hope that the self-service repair program evolves from this restrictive manner to what we're actually looking forward to seeing in regards to self-service repair. So yeah, next up we have the different Steam Deck competitors. As you heard in my in one of my previous episodes, of course, the Steam Deck has been delayed, and yeah, now there are a lot of news about competitors coming out, and the latest one will be the One X Player Mini. So this is based on not on AMD, like for example the AI Neo. That would be this one here. That's their latest one. This is the AI Neo Pro that I think got shipped to Kickstarter and Indiegogo backers back in September. And yeah, so this one, if I get this article correctly, is going to launch crowdfunding this January. And where was it in regards to specs? So the what is this again? 1X Player Mini will have a 7-inch IPS display in 1920 by 1200 and will feature a Tiger Lake i7 CPU, so 11th gen, with the that should have the Intel Xe graphics on it. So it should be powerful enough to play some games. But of course, if you followed coverage on the Intel graphics, drivers have been pretty spotty in regards to compatibility with games and reliability. So let's hope that this has become better. As far as pricing, I did not see anything about that on this article here. So probably it's not announced yet. So once I learn that their crowdfunding has gone live, I will discuss this again and give you an update on what the pricing will be. But if you go for something like the AI Neo Pro, then you can see the pricing for that one here is with an AMD Ryzen 7 4800U, which is also one generation old again, like with the other device, and it has 1 terabyte of SSD, but it's listed at $1,300 without tax. So when you compare that to the prices that Valve is charging for the Steam Deck, do they list them here actually? Reserve. So yeah, these are now Euro prices, but 419 euros for the 64 gig model, or 679 euros for the 512 gig model, which should be about 600-700 also US dollars. That's quite a steeper price for the AI Neo. And of course, then you have devices like the one upcoming from Qualcomm that we also discussed in a previous episode, which is targeted probably to a lower cost because this is an Android-powered device. So it will be interesting to see how this part of the industry is going to evolve in 2022 and how prices are going to develop, because interest in mobile gaming consoles like these seems to be pretty high, because basically each month you hear about new products coming out from newcomer companies, and of course major companies like in this example here, Qualcomm and Razer. So yeah, then we can already go on to our next topic, which is the release of the Maui Shell. So what is unique about this desktop environment basically is, and also the accompanying UI framework, which is MauiKit. And as you can see here, it is actually part of the KDE Foundation. So, and what is interesting about this is that the user interface is designed for operating on desktops, tablets, and phones. Let me just check here. Yeah, here's an example for the interface on phones. And here is the one also for tablets. Whoops. No. Whoop. Sorry about that. So here's also the view on tablets. For everyone listening to this on the podcast format, you will find the article with the sample images that I'm showing here in the show notes on my blog, bnonet.com, or they are linked they are linked in the description of the episode. Yeah, so this is interesting to me because, as I mentioned earlier, I am pretty heavily involved in mobile development and also cross-platform development. And a technology like this would be really, really interesting to see evolving and perhaps integrate with cross-platform frameworks like React Native or Flutter. Not really Flutter, because Flutter does its own thing in regards to rendering, but a very interesting candidate would be a namesake of this framework here, which would be Microsoft's .NET Maui. Because they're currently not planning Linux support for .NET Maui officially. I know that there already has work begun on Linux support from the community side of things, but if I saw that correctly, it's currently done again on GTK basis. And the MauiKit here is based on Qt, and there is already a very good Qt to C# translation layer. I think it's called QML.net. So I am actually planning to look into this this year if it would be possible to perhaps integrate these three frameworks to make a cross-platform integration with .NET Maui possible, because I think that would be really, really interesting. I wanted to look into that beforehand as well, but since .NET Maui also focuses on supporting all three, so desktop, mobile, in tablet and phone format, a technology, a framework like this could be actually pretty beneficial. And it's also cross-platform, so they're targeting various platforms at once with this as well. So you would open a lot of opportunities with this if you would make this compatible to other frameworks, and you could have one framework for everything in regards to the different platform representations. So yeah, definitely something I will be following pretty closely. The company that is making this is I think it's also actually called Nitrix, like their Linux OS mentioned here. And this is actually part of the current Nitrux Linux OS release. That's why it's pretty recent article here, despite being, I think, on the blog here, the latest update is from November. So those projects are independent from each other, but Nitrux actually released that in their latest update now in December. And I actually might have a look at this distribution because it's looking pretty interesting as well, because they're also rocking their own standard desktop. And I'm currently just checking a few Linux distributions myself on the site when I have time. So I will be definitely watching this, and I started to follow both projects on Twitter now, and if there are updates, I will definitely get back to you on those, and perhaps I will, when I start investigating, I'll have something to contribute myself. Yeah, so these were the news stories, and then of course let's get to what's upcoming in regards to CES. Important news on that one is actually CES was originally planned for January 5th to I think 8th, and they now reduced it by 1 day to the 7th because a lot of major brands like AMD and I think even Samsung and various others have cancelled their attendance in physical form, and there will be, however, again virtual events, and we are expecting actually quite a few announcements at CES this year. Like, for example, I think Intel's desktop graphics cards that should be in the performance class of an RTX 3070 based on leaked benchmarks. They are apparently going to be presented and launched at CES with an availability in spring or something like that. We are also expecting the Ryzen 5000 refresh with their 3D cache, so stacking cache on chip instead of putting it on the side and so on, which will be interesting to see. So that will be AMD's intermediary response to the new Intel chips, 12th gen chips that have launched late last year. So I think also Nvidia has an event as well. Not sure if they are going to announce anything new for consumers now in January, but for Nvidia it's expected that they will be launching a new graphics card series later this year as well. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff to happen next week, and if there are topics that I see relevant, I will definitely update you on those in our next episode. Yeah, so that covers all the news stories that I wanted to discuss. So now we can go back to the view of me, and we can discuss what I think is coming up, or what happened in 2021 and what's coming up in 2022. On the topic list, these are two separate topics, but I will cover some topics overall, because a lot of stuff is going to continue on from 2021 to 2022. So one of the biggest things that, of course, that started in 2020 and continued through to 2021 is, of course, the shift in general computing, that away from standard x86 processors to ARM processors. Mainly, primary example is, of course, Apple with their M1, M1 Pro, and M1 Max chips. And the verdict is still out in regards to how these chips will scale in desktop. And since Apple started with their x86 to ARM transition at WWDC 2020, which was in June of 2020, we are almost at the end of their 2-year transition. So there are roughly 6 months or perhaps even 5 months left until this transition period is over. And we still have 2 major product lines that Apple did not update yet. And these are the bigger iMac, previously 27-inch, rumored to be in the future 32-inch, and of course the Mac Pro. And there are several rumors out in regards to what Apple is going to do for desktop, with coupling different M1 Pro, M1 Max CPUs and so on. Or what I theorize, that they will probably use those designs but basically spec them differently so you can send higher voltages through them, because I think the M1 Max is a 45 watt part, and you can throw a lot more power on through those chips and probably get a much more performance out of them. So the question is really if you need to stack those chips right away, or if you just spec them differently. And of course then it perhaps would not be the M1, because it's perhaps not mobile. I don't know what the M designator stands for, so nobody knows outside of Apple, I guess. And perhaps we are going to see a D1 or whatever they will be called for the desktops. So that's really a development that will be interesting to see. Then of course we had rumors last year about AMD also planning on developing and releasing M1 competitors, and leading over already, we have the whole discussion in the same space that NVIDIA wants to acquire ARM. So this is also, as we discussed in previous podcasts, something that is under investigation at the moment in the UK and in the US. In the UK because ARM is headquartered in the UK, and of course in the US because NVIDIA is headquartered in the US, and of course most of the competitors of NVIDIA that would be hampered by this acquisition are also located in the US. So these investigations are those two that we have to watch and see what is coming out of that. And yeah, then the next big thing, of course, also was what I call the platform wars. Mainly the Epic versus Apple and Google lawsuits, and everything related to that, regards to App Store policies. And I actually don't know if these lawsuits have been resolved. I had no time to check that really up before the stream. But these discussions in regards to what is fair, what is not fair, what should be allowed on those platforms, this is something that will continue to follow us in 2022, especially now that you actually have a company like Valve also entering that sector, like I also discussed in the previous episode, because Valve is relying on their sales on the Steam Deck through Steam to support this endeavor. Basically, without that they wouldn't be able to charge such low prices as they are charging for the Steam Deck. So they're subsidizing through Steam their efforts in that regard. And the most important news on that front was that Valve is going to allow third parties to have their own launchers running on Steam Deck. And that is a very, very important news in that regard. As I discussed in the previous episode, for me that is also not a huge problem, because the Steam Deck is going to be a computer. It will be a general computing device with a focus on, of course, gaming, but it's not like it's a phone, a communication device that you perhaps need to rely on to call emergency services at one point. So the impact of perhaps having third-party software that is not properly validated for the device running on the Steam Deck is not a big issue like if it would be on an iPhone or an Android phone or whatever phone you're actually running. And I think to launch a new platform like this, having proper means to, of course, make profits continuously on that platform, and also enable companies to make profits on that particular platform, is an important point of success for this platform. Because if you don't enable companies or people to make money on your platform, it's basically doomed to fail. Big example for that for me is Jolla with their Sailfish OS. They had big success initially with their own phones, and had even Intel as partner for their tablet project, but in the end they failed with that original strategy, because they were not able to provide people and businesses the opportunity to make money on their platform. Their store did not allow that, and that is a downfall for a platform, because who is interested to invest, especially into a platform like Sailfish OS, which is also Qt based, to get new developers and invest into learning this new platform and porting their applications over. Especially when your main developers are perhaps already working with Android Java, Kotlin, and iOS, Swift, Objective-C, and then also learning an additional language, QML, or it's a big step and it's a big investment. And if you don't allow companies to recoup that investment, that's a big issue. So yeah, for Valve, it's definitely the right step, and I am happy that they focus on allowing other parties to be on their platform as well. But due to the popularity of Steam, I think there will be no issue for them to support and recoup their investment. Leading us, of course, over into the discussion in regards to right to repair. Basically, what you was Valve did a tear down of the Steam Deck, and there was a lot of commentary about that because they also don't want you to open it. But Valve, for example, they committed on providing replacement parts for the Steam Deck, and we had the Apple self-service repair program earlier, and the repairability approaches from Dell and Microsoft we discussed last time in an episode. So there is a lot of stuff happening in the right to repair field, and this will be something that will be continuing in 2022, because when the whole climate change discussion and environmental impact, I think focusing on reducing landfills is something that we should be all focusing on. So if you buy a new device and your old device is not functional, and your old device is still functional, don't throw it away, resell it. Or if it's has a minor defect, try fix the defect and resell the device then, so that it doesn't land on the landfill right away, and you can perhaps even recoup some of your investment for your new device. So will be that is a topic that will be really, really interesting for the future. Then of course what continues as well for everyone in the IT field is all of us, not even if you're just in the IT field, is that that we have the chip shortage. Manufacturers like TSMC, they're working on getting new fabs online. Latest numbers I heard is late 2022 or early 2023. So it will be some time until the whole chip shortage situation will be remedied. And if you then hear that companies like Nvidia are already planning on releasing the next generation of graphics cards, I don't know what nodes they will be using, if they are using current available nodes, which would then be impacted again by the chip shortage, or if they're using new manufacturing nodes that will be unoccupied yet. That is something that will be probably continuing to be a topic for us till 2023, and worst case even till 2024, depending on how everything is going with the worldwide situation. And yeah, also Steam Deck related, of course. We have the whole discussion that in regards to, is Linux ready for mainstream, and Valve's efforts in that regard, bringing out the Steam Deck with Linux, and putting in the work to make pretty much most Windows games run on Linux, is a huge thing, and it will be interesting how the Linux community and the industry into that regard will evolve in the next few years. So this is something that the Steam Deck really triggered to evolve, and this will be a development that will also continue to follow us into the next few years, and especially relevant, I think, that will be because Microsoft gets more and more restrictive with the consumer versions of Windows due to having or due to moving to a software as a service model for Windows. And yeah, so this is a lot of moving pieces in that in IT industry at the moment, and will be interesting to watch. And I will be updating you guys in regards to what's happening there, and perhaps we can have discussions on that later on. Yeah, last hot topic that also got a boost in 2021, and that will continue in 2022, is the whole field of augmented reality and virtual reality. Late last year, we had quite a few announcements in regards to our AR and VR headsets. Some of these we also covered in previous episodes of the podcast, and there will be a lot of new releases this year in regards to headsets. We have also new interesting games coming out for VR, like Hubris, which is already treated like the possible next Half-Life Alyx in the VR space. So basically the launch of the Oculus Quest 2, or Meta Quest 2, or whatever you want to call the Quest 2 now, prompted a lot of new developments, a lot more interest in the space. And I don't remember the tweet. I think Beat Saber actually tweeted on Christmas that they had the largest new number of new users this year on Christmas than ever before. And Beat Saber has been around in the VR space since I think 2016. So they have some comprehensive data on that regard. Yeah, so a lot of big topics that we discussed on the podcast continuing this year, and it will be interesting what is going to happen. And of course, everything is of course impacted by the general situation that we are facing with the pandemic right now, and let's just hope that 2022 will provide us with some kind of resolution in that regard. So these are my thoughts in regards to 2022 and 2021. And I therefore close down this episode for this week. Everyone watching on YouTube and Odyssey or via podcast in the podcast episode form, thank you very much for listening. For those that are still watching on stream, we will continue a bit afterwards if you want to take part in the after recording Q&A, because we are doing this podcast recording always on livestream since November, so you can join in on YouTube or Twitch for that. Links will also be in the show notes. And next episode will be in 2 weeks. Again, that will be the... forgot to write that down. That will be the 16th. And till then, thank you very much for watching and listening. And see you next time.
It